In today's video, we're going to use some very simple techniques to make some fleshy, translucent looking, cute looking, gross looking polymer clay creatures. Craftsman has been getting a lot of sculpting inspiration from my friends Theo Kane at Slimehouse and Dan Does.
Hello.
This video was originally going to be about sculpting in Nomad 3D, which is a fabulous tool that both Theo and Dan use very well. But I mistakenly captured most of the footage using screen record like a knucklehead instead of on camera like this right here, a spherical object right there. And it's way harder to follow because you can't see the pencil. My bad. So let's make something from clay. This is Cernit translucent clay, which is bakeable polymer clay similar to Sculpey and Fimo. Just so you know, Cos Clay also offers a translucent version if you need something flexible. As for tools, we don't need all these. Just come in here and grab your favorite ones. I like a silicone tool because it's like a little finger, a ball end tool, a bigger silicone tool, and a metal sculpting tool there. We can do a lot with just this right here. But for most of the details, we're going to use a cheat code called Nature. We're going to take Craftsman's favorite silicone putty, which is a 2-part, easy to mix silicone material, and do some sampling from nature. Let's see. So we're looking for groovy, bumpy, knotty, texturous, look at that pine cone, texturous details. That stump looks pretty neat. I think we're going to have to go deeper into the swampy woods. That's why coming a 2-part putty is so convenient, because you just mix it when you need it. Yeah, I like these textures. Look at them. It almost looks kind of like some fat rolls or something on a creature maybe. And look at this little fella. Come on now. And we're going to mash it down really, really good into the details. I'm not worried about a release agent. We're just slapping it on, and we're going to capture what's underneath it. And now for the fun part. Now we've got a bunch of texture brushes or texture pads and a texture roller ball that I got real quick. And this is more than enough to give us some texture variety. But I want to show you one more tool you can make. Let's take some 2-part epoxy scup, mix it up, and squish it onto a little handle. Now take a ball tool, a needle tools, and add some bumps, all over the place, bumps, different sizes bumps. Now we got a texture roller inspired by Dan Does. This is my first time using Cernit clay, but I've seen some nice results, particularly with translucent type for, like I said, skin or, in our case, blobby creatures. The translucency will come in when we bake it. But for now, keep your clay sealed in a bag so it'll stay soft and fresh, all right? And we're gonna knead it, get it good and pliable. Now real quick, I'm gonna make some armatures out of aluminum foil. And armature usually is in the shape of your sculpt with the arms and the legs and the pose, but since we're using translucent clay, I want to keep aluminum to the very middle to not interfere with light absorption and subsurface scattering. Craftsman, what? Let's put a little tab on these so we can hold the sculpts by the behinds. Let's actually just fold that in and pretend like I never suggested it, because cutting the aluminum away might damage the sculpt. I'm out of square brass tubing, so I can't make us a proper sculpt holding situation. I'm just gonna use a wooden disc for now. That should work. I like to roll out uniform pieces always if I know like I'm gonna make legs or arms or things that need to be the same size roughly. Now let's use our texture pad. And I'm just carefully dabbing it. And you want to rotate the pad around to change the variety. And now let's add even more subtle detail with our ball end tool. Little dents, big dents. And this right here, I find that a needle tool is a fantastic way to simulate skin parts. Look, trust me, don't skip out on this part right here. And I know it's really hard to appreciate right now because of this clay. It's hard to read, but when we blackwash it and just wait. Let's make another one. But this time, we're gonna add some heavy texture to the basic shape before we even begin putting legs and features on. Yeah, look at that right there. You might even hit it with your rigid roller or cradle the piece using a texture pad. Music montage. And to the oven we go. 30 minutes at 265 degrees, and they are done. Look at that. The result's pretty nice to me. You can definitely see translucency going on here. That's going to come into play here in a minute when we color these critters. Speaking of, let's color these critters. Craftsman's keeping it simple and using just some washes. These are fairly thin, so it doesn't look like a whole lot's happening, but we're going to gradually, slowly build up tones, just keeping it subtle for right now. And this is our main color. Straight up, I'm just using a rust wash. It looks like the color I want, so hey, let's go. And Craftsman, and I'm using a water brush because I didn't have a regular brush this size. I can hear somebody in the comments, Craftsman, you should have just put your rust wash inside the water brush, baby. You should have told me that earlier. Slowly we can see the building up of color density, with most of it collecting in the crevices and creases, which is kind of what I'm after. But they still look kind of plain, especially around back. So let's take it to the next level of realism by trying to simulate a more complicated skin tone. I'm adding some greens here, just blobbing it out, not too careful, just want a little extra variety now. We're going to add some blue, see there again, blobbing it, and just dabbing it. It will make it seem like the skin's more complicated and realistic than it really is, like maybe bruised or something. Now we're going to take and go back over the blues and greens with our base color wash. This will make it feel like it's more under the skin. Now look at the difference, just that right there, mate. Now for the pièce de résistance. Craftsman getting French with it. We're going to take some blue wool, just a little wispy little bit, and some sculpted glaze, or you can use watered down PVA glue. And we're gonna apply a layer to the back. Just kind of spread it around there we go. And with just a little bit of wool, we're gonna lightly, gently, sort of dab it on, spread it around, and we're gonna try to distribute it, give it more of a little bit of a veiny appearance. I learned this trick from Dan Does, who learned it from Gert at Dark Matter Workshop. Thank y'all, boys. Now I find it ideal to have some details not be translucent to break up the surface variety. So I've mixed up some acrylic paint with our base color and scraped in some orange pastel to paint the little ends of the feet. The color scheme Craftsman is going for is kind of like mealworms. All right, that's getting there, but we can use a little more work. Now a little sepia wash. And let's scrape us a little pastel right here and lightly, watch this, brush it across the belly surface, catching on the highlight areas. Very similar to dry brushing, basically. A few more coats of clear acrylic glaze, and they are finished. Hopefully you see how easy that was to get your own realistic, potential gross, maybe cute results. But you can do this far better than what Craftsman did. Come on. I want to give a special thank you to Dan and Bill and Theo, my friends, for inspiring me and encouraging me, motivating me throughout this video. Thank y'all. I've had to shift some things around due to some dehumidifier issues at the shop. We've had to move most of the filming into our house so that we can leave the air conditioner and dehumidifier going at the shop full time to keep it dry out there. But we have had lots of good news as well, like Oto 7.
Oto 7.
Yeah, the Oto 7 vinyl figures are making their voyage across the sea and are expected to be in by the end of the month. We've got some other things in the digital realm that might materialize depending on if we can manage it, but this Craftsman working on a bunch of things at the same time. And speaking of the pocket knot, we got our first batch of plastic elastomer in a custom yellow color, which means new pocket knots are in production. My wife said we got around 250 made up currently being packaged, and we'll be posting a release date on Patreon first and releasing those into the wild. Speaking of Patreon, we also got more updates coming to the Plunder Box, which has been a big hit. Like I said before, it's more a way to give our supporters access to cheap stuff like things used to be, Thank you sincerely to our Patreon supporters. Y'all the reason Craftsman's hanging on making videos. Thank you. Until next time, I love y'all and keep on steady crafting. trying to do a boiler hobby time thumbnail.